All right, guys, I'm kid free. I'm wife free. It's 100 degrees outside. It's 82 degrees in the house. It's too hot to do anything except film this video, which has been long coming. I've basically not put out a video in like 3 weeks, and I haven't done like a HRCYED check-in that long as well. So let's jump into the things that I've finished. So the first thing I finished was Chlorine by Jade Song. I actually read most of this on audiobook about a month ago and stalled out because I realized what was about to happen, and I didn't want to listen on audiobook to the conclusion of the book, so I ended up putting it on hold at my library and picking it up that way. And so I finished it in paper book format. I really liked everything I listened to in the audiobook portion, except for the part that I approached towards the end of the book. And then after we got over that part in the book basically had like, I think 50 or 60 pages left still. And I didn't really want to read anymore. I felt like the pacing after that was kind of whack, and it really ended up not working out. Give me one sec, I'm gonna turn this fan off. Sorry about the audio if it's messed up, but it's really hot in the house. So I'm just going to kind of suffer until then. But yeah, so I really did not like the pacing of the end of the book. And I also felt like the ending was kind of unbelievable. Spoilers for the end of the book, and also trigger warning for gore and violence. But basically she goes through, and self-harm, because she goes through a bunch of trauma and is like a lot of trauma. I'm not going to list all of it. I really wish the book had come with trigger warnings. I don't think it did. One sec, let me say that. Okay, actually it did, but I think in the audiobook I might have skipped that chapter or something like that. So it did come with trigger warnings, but at the end she goes through a lot of trauma, and then she decides to become a mermaid. And the way she does that is by like physically sewing her legs together. And the way she does it is she actually peels the skin off of her inner thigh and like pulls it over to her other thigh, and then like laces her skin together that way, I think, and then sews it all together down the center. And she does this right before a swim meet, and then she hobbles out to the swim meet and is going to go swim, and they take her to the hospital, obviously. And then she wakes up in the hospital and they're like, yeah, we're going to unsew your legs together like in 2 days. And I'm like, is this not an emergency? Like, I feel like this is an emergency. And then they didn't even have her in a secure room. Like, she went through this really like terrible self-mutilation, and then she was like in a regular hospital room, and her friend broke her out, and then she goes and swims away into a creek and like becomes a mermaid, or maybe dies. My wife read this book too, and she thinks that she died. I kind of like to think that maybe she became a mermaid, but the jury's still out on that one. So I ended up giving it 3 stars because I did enjoy the whole book up until the climax, but I felt like the wrap up of the book was just kind of weak, and we could have gone a little harder towards whatever the author was trying to actually say, rather than kind of leaving it the way that she did. So then the other book that I finished in like 45 minutes, and it was Heartstopper Volume 4. I'll be reading Heartstopper Volume 5 later this week, but I actually really enjoyed Heartstopper Volume 4, content warning for eating disorders, but it basically this book talks about Charlie's eating disorder and struggles with mental illness, and he ends up being hospitalized, and stuff like that happens towards the middle of the book. But it actually was the first time that a graphic novel has made me cry. There's this part where Charlie's boyfriend asks Charlie to like write a letter to his parents asking for help, because he spent like a really long time convincing Charlie to ask for help. And he writes this note that like made me cry. And so it says, "My mental health has been really bad lately. I've been finding eating really difficult. I feel like there's a voice in my head that's not me telling me bad things will happen if I eat or if I do things the wrong way. And that voice has just been getting louder and louder. Sometimes it makes me really stressed or tired or angry. And I think I've been like this for quite a long time, but I just didn't want to admit it. I want to figure out how to manage it. So I was thinking I could go to the doctor. I want to get better." And that was just like, that was him talking directly to his parents about what he needed. And it just made me really emotional and sad. And so I did end up having to put this book down for a couple minutes before coming back to it. But I really felt like this one was very heartwarming. The only thing I didn't like is that the book completely skips over Charlie's hospitalization. They kind of visit it in flashback. So basically after the letter, there's like a break and then it says like 5 months later or something like that. And I really don't like that because I feel like that's, I don't know, I wish I had seen part of his journey in the hospital, even if it was just a couple journal pages or something like that. And there were journal pages, but the journal pages were in flashback. It was basically like, wow, I haven't written in here in a while. This is everything that's happened. And I don't really like that narrative device in prose, and I didn't really like it in graphic novel format either. I know that the focus of Heartstopper is on Charlie and Nick's relationship, and that their relationship wasn't really happening when Charlie was in the hospital, but I really felt like it just needed to have a little bit more information about what they were doing in the hospital exactly, or like what Nick was doing, or exactly what their visits looked like, or whatever, because I did not really appreciate getting all of that information secondhand. So that's kind of my feelings about Heartstopper. I think I ended up giving Heartstopper 4 stars or 4.5. I think it was probably 4 stars because I was kind of mad about the situation with my brain's not working, the situation with the flashback. So let's move on to crafts. I haven't finished any crafts, but I've started a lot of crafts. And the main thing that I've started is a 6-day star blanket. Let me get it. So here it is. My wife bought a bunch of yarn off a Facebook marketplace from this person who we think was unhauling a bunch of yarn from maybe a family member who has passed away. I think I mentioned that in a previous video. And one of them was this big Karen anniversary cake, and it was in this Christmas colorway. I think I might have showed this in my last video too, I can't remember, but it's gotten substantially larger since then. Looking at it now, I actually really like it. Every time I look at it, I kind of hate it. I hit a phase with every single project, even like writing projects, where I'm like, everything I've ever written is the worst thing I've ever written. And I get that way with my crafting too. But I really like the way it's coming out. I think it's Christmas, but it's not so Christmas that it's like couldn't be out for the rest of the year either. But I think it turned out really cute. I've still got a couple more rows left. I'm on a double crochet row right now. And then I have, one sec. I have this much yarn left out of my anniversary cake. It's kind of collapsed in on itself. I think the lady who did the 6-day star blanket, her name is Betty McKnit. She actually posted a thing that was like, this is how big your blanket will be if you use 1 Karen anniversary cake. And so I think it'll end up being 60 inches, which is 5 feet, which is not too shabby. But yeah, the colors also look really good in this lighting. So this is how my 6-day star blanket is shaping up. And hopefully by next week, I will have a finished object to show y'all in this regard. But that is going to be for my sister-in-law, who is really obsessed with like Christmas and does a lot of Christmas decorating. The next thing that I've been working on is another crochet blanket. I really like crochet because it's easier for me. And also everything that I've been crocheting lately has been really big gauge. So it's very fast and you get that like quick dopamine hit of like, wow, look how big my blanket got so quick. But basically what's been going on with this blanket is I'm doing the join as you go method. So my wife is crocheting the actual squares and then I've been crocheting the squares together. And it's not all going to fit in the frame at one time and I can't hold all of it at one time, but it's basically a king-sized blanket. And I don't know exactly who this is going to be for, but yeah, this is all of it in the frame, but I don't know exactly who this is going to be for, and it's not necessarily the cutest blanket that I've ever made, but I'm really enjoying just kind of putting it together, using up all this yarn we bought, and we'll probably end up gifting it to somebody for Christmas, or like in my choir room. My church choir has like 2 couches and I've been thinking about putting it in there and it being like the choir's couch blanket or something like that. But I can also like show y'all some more details. But yeah, so I'm doing the join as you go method, as I said, and that ends up looking kind of like this. I messed this join up a little bit, which is why it looks kind of messed up, but it's turning out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. And that's kind of one of those projects that I just pick up when Becky has knitted or crocheted enough squares, and I'll just like join a couple together. Then the last thing that I've been working on is my Dungeon Crawler Carl socks. In my last video, I showed the yarn selection for this, but this is how the sock is actually working up. And so you can actually see, it's hard to tell in this lighting, but it's a zigzag pattern, the way the knit stitches have worked up. And I really like the way the ribbing looks with the zigzag pattern. And then I have a contrasting color for the cuff and the heel, and then I'll do the toe in the same color. But this is about halfway down my foot where it is now. I've actually got to try it on to determine when I'm going to start the toe. And then I will start my second one and my socks will be done. This is just twisted, half twisted rib, I think. Yes, it's half twisted rib here. And then this, I don't know how to do any other sock heel besides the Stone Knits no wrap short heel. So I did the no wrap short heel, and I also decreased a little bit in the foot because it was pretty loose when I tried it on up here, and it definitely was going to be too loose around my foot. So this is what I have been mostly focusing on when I'm at work and stuff. This is like my traveling project. And then my other 2 crochet projects are very much like my couch project. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that's been going on. My school for my MFA starts on Tuesday, and the syllabus for the class dropped, so I actually did all of this week's readings just now. So I'm kind of in good shape for that. Some other updates that I have is that 3 of my poems that I wrote in like January, February of this year are going to be published in an anthology by Tulip Wood Books. So it's actually going to be like a physical book. I'm not sure if I get a copy included with publication or anything like that, but if we do, we might have like a cheeky little reading on the channel, just because I am pretty proud of those poems and I'm really excited that they're going to be in like an actual book. That's basically the first time that any of my stuff has been published in an actual like physical book that you can hold in your hands. And yeah, I don't know how frequent these updates will be considering that I am in school and working at school, and I looked at my schedule and I am very overwhelmed, and I'm also going for my national boards this year, so I will be working on that as well. But I really do want to try to do more with the channel. I also have a lot of film that I took for setting up my classroom, so I'm hoping to kind of use that film somewhere eventually, even if it's just like a first 9 weeks review or something like that. But yeah, so that's everything that's been going on. And I will probably just download this off my phone and stick it straight on YouTube because I don't know if I have the mental bandwidth to like actually edit a video. And I feel like this is one of the more polished videos that I've made so far. So yeah, that's all that I've got for y'all today. So let me know what I should start next after I finish my crochet star blanket. I really think I should finish the other blanket before I pick up another crochet project, but I've kind of got the crochet bug back again. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.